Let's move on to Texas A&M, our team, guys. This is we love this time of year every year in Aggie land because we haven't lost a game yet. And the sarcastic salutes and gigums are all around on the YouTube feed if you're not watching. It's a really interesting year one for Mike Elko. 8-5 is the final record, as the jokes write themselves, of Texas 8-4. Started 7-1 and 5-0 through a bunch of quarterback turmoil. They were changed starting quarterbacks twice. They started 5-0 in conference play, beat LSU at home, and were in control of their own destiny to make it to Atlanta even all the way to the last week of the season. But as it's way too often been the case under previous coaches, it was a 1-4 finish. The one win was against New Mexico State. It was 0-4 against power conference opponents to close the year. And we go into the offseason wondering which A&M team was real. Was it the first 8 weeks of the season, or was it the last 5 games of the season? A lot of that had to do with the injuries. The running back room got decimated with injuries. Reuben Owens before the start of the season, Le'Veon Moss in the South Carolina game. That slide really coincided with Le'Veon Moss going down and some other injuries at other key spots. But you're looking forward to this year. The confidence is coming from that running back core coming back together. I really do think this could be right up there behind Penn State as one of the best running back cores in the entire nation. I don't think they're going to pass up the guys in Happy Valley, but Lev Moss, Amari Daniels, and Reuben Owens, and apparently EJ Smith is back. I was not expecting to read that. I'm not sure how he still has eligibility. I think he was playing when I was still in college, but EJ Smith is back too to be running back number 4. Good for him. That's where that and the offensive line are where you're banking on for A&M. Now, at the other 2 key positions on offense, at quarterback and receiver, Marcel Reed getting a full offseason as the guy. He was kind of will they, won't they for a good portion of last year. And they went out and made some nice moves in the portal to get him some weapons. Casey Concepcion, who had a fantastic freshman year in NC State a couple years ago, dealt with some injuries last year. Mario Craver from Mississippi State is a guy that is really shifty and can get some separation, something they desperately needed last year in that receiving core. It's going to be an interesting offense, and I think it will feel like a make-or-break year for Colin Klein on that side of the ball. Before we get over to the defense, who has some legit questions as well, is this an offense you see improving and being more consistent this year with the additions they made?
I don't see how it's not. We were surprised at the lack of continuity at times in the passing game last year with Colin Klein. And I mean, how many texts did we send to each other? If he runs inside zone on 2nd and 10 one more time, something's going to get thrown into the wall. So it felt like it felt like a first date where there's a lot of positives and there's some things that you really like, but you're also stuck kind of rehashing that joke that you told that didn't land. And maybe she had something in her teeth for the second half of the night. And you're just like, can I get over that? For me, I do expect it to improve. Marcel Reed is an excellent athlete with a good enough arm. And at his best, he's a guy that can matriculate an offense and go win 9-10 games by putting up 35 points a game. At his best, the footwork has got to get better. We saw him tipping pitches at times last season. His struggle with hitting the deep ball was apparent. But then he would have a game like the USC game. The kid did everything he needed to do to win that ball game for the Aggies, and the defense let him down. And so I feel like being QB1 comes with a scrutiny that not many other positions get. And once Le'Veon Moss did go down and it was Amari Daniels and EJ Smith at running back, you lost the better half of your offense. Not to mention your wide receiver core couldn't get separation if their life depended on it last year. So you upgrade athletically. Terry Bussey should have a much bigger role in the offense this year. 5-star athlete who played corner and wide receiver and wildcat and all different manner of positions last year. A&M is not going to have a speed problem this year. They've got some track stars out wide. For me, it feels like now Colin Klein has the tools to do some fun things and bring some wrinkles to the offense on top of having all 5 starters along the offensive line back.
Is it more like dating the chick from Seinfeld that looks really good in the good lighting, but then when the shadows hit, she's scary?
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah, that's
Maybe.
An
Maybe.
elite pull from Trey there. No, I am not really concerned about the offense. I'd like to remind everybody that this was the number one scoring offense in SEC play. That's the fact. You can go look it up. If you just count SEC games, Texas A&M was number one in scoring.
shocking stats that I refuse to believe, even though they are on the internet.
It is
Honestly,
objectively true, even though it feels weird. And I think a lot of it just comes down to the fact that there were moments where this offense looked amazing, and there were moments where this offense just looked like it couldn't get out of its own way. A lot of it, though, I think hinges on, and we've talked about Marcel a little bit. I think Marcel's got a little bit more arm talent than he's getting a little bit credit for. You can go ask the people of Auburn if they like Marcel Reed very much, because he was kind of terrorizing them towards the end of the season as well, and was quite literally a dropped pass in the breadbasket away from putting that game on ice. And if that were the case, we would have seen him in Atlanta, and we'd be having a very different conversation about the Texas A&M Aggies in this offseason. So how close it was to being a special season versus ultimately not panning out, I think is a lot of reason to believe in this offense specifically, because a lot of the problems on the offense were sometimes there wasn't enough time for Marcel to figure stuff out and plant his feet and find a guy downfield. Sometimes guys weren't getting any separation downfield, and sometimes there was a guy open that he maybe just missed. Just didn't see him as he was trying to make his reads, maybe looking somewhere else. Game might have been a little complex for him at that point. You give me an offseason out, faster wide receivers, and an experienced offensive line, I don't think there's a lot of reasons to doubt this Texas A&M offense. For me, my questions come on the defensive side of the football, where if you're watching Texas A&M's meltdown following the LSU game, that was where the problems were. When you watch them walk into South Carolina and they couldn't stop anything to save their life. You watch, Lenora Sellers really have a coming out party in that game and taking the nation by storm, starting kind of then. I know he had been playing well, but that was kind of his first big moment where he had knocked off a bigger team. And then you go to Auburn and watch a previously not very good offense in Auburn suddenly look amazing. We're making Peyton Thorne look like he's Peyton Manning, and all of a sudden you're asking yourself a lot of questions about that defensive side of the football. If Mike Elko's truly running that defense, I feel a lot better about it, but that is a big question mark for me right now.
well, you mentioned Mike Elko allegedly taking over the defense, and that's something that he was very vocal about at the end of the bowl game. He was very heated in that Las Vegas Bowl post-game presser that is not up to the standard that he expected. Kept defensive coordinator Jay Bateman on the staff, did bring in a co-DC, but apparently it's all going to be more on Elko, and we've seen that work at Texas A&M before. Jimbo Fisher's best teams in College Station were called and coordinated on the defensive side of the ball by Mike Elko. Defense is really interesting to me because you look at it, some of the numbers, especially in that win streak, that 7-game win streak that they had, were phenomenal. In the 5 SEC wins that they had, they allowed 73.8 yards per game on the ground. In the losses in November, they allowed 199.4. So it's very clear to see where the issues are. A lot of attention went to the pass defense, and the pass defense had a lot of holes in it at times last year, but the rush defense really failed them. The defensive line that was supposed to be the strength really failed them.
And a lot of it
just,
by the way, was tackling. Like a lot of it was just guy in the open field, can't bring him down for some unexplainable reason. It was very bizarre to watch in real time.
28 missed tackles against South Carolina. 28.
They set records. 28 is unheard of, guys. That's insane. It's time for the next generation on that defensive line, though. Gone are Nick Scorton and the Shamars. It's going to be up to guys like Cassius Howell, who had a really great bowl game. DJ Hicks has been in the program for a couple years now on the inside. Rylan Kennedy flashed a little bit last year. Garrett, when we were at the Notre Dame game, said how much he liked what he was seeing from Rylan Kennedy. Marco Jones had a fantastic spring game. And the guys dude's just a freak. I watched him play baseball this spring in a scrimmage, and he just towers above even guys like Jay Slavalette, who just got drafted tonight. So time for a new generation. I really like the linebacker core. If we're looking for an identity on defense, Torian York and Scooby Williams are a really nice 1-2 at the linebacker position. And they've got some nice guys coming back in the back end. Will Lee is a really good corner to build around. Tons of pass breakups last year. Tyreek Chappelle coming back at the nickel spot. I think that's going to do wonders for that pass defense as he comes back with all the experience he brings. So Julian Humphrey from Georgia coming over, a guy that got some time as a starter over the last couple of years there. So lots of pieces. It's just going to be interesting to see how Elko puts them together and plays chess on that side of the ball.
Well, and you didn't talk about, old man Albert Regis on the defensive line, but he's still there, and having experience and having some of that, just I've been here for a little while, get some of that grown man strength. We've seen that make a difference on defensive lines, for lots of teams in the SEC, but he's going to kind of be that anchor piece that a lot of guys are going to have to work around. You're mentioning all the new faces. You get one that's not going to fill you with loads of confidence, but I'd rather have a big guy in the middle I can kind of lean on and say, all right, let's let these other guys figure out how to scheme around it, kind of hold a little position. He's going to be a big key to this A&M defense and figuring out if they can actually, start stopping the run, winning at the point of attack a little bit.
Aggies have got to get pressure off the edge, and Cassius Howell is going to be a big part of that. I think TJ Searcy from Florida is going to be a part of that. Samuel Mpimba, Deion Hayes, all guys that they brought in from the transfer portal to fill out that defensive line. Jordan Shaw is the one guy in the secondary you didn't mention, cover corner coming over from Washington. I think with Shaw and Lee, you've got your starting two cover corners. And then if Chappelle can play the nickel, that's where we've seen him blossom, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they kicked him out to the boundary when they needed to. But if he can play inside at that nickel spot, if Bryce Anderson can be healthy at the free safety, I love what Dalton Brooks is doing as kind of that hybrid, strong box safety kind of player. The Aggies, the potential for them to take that next step and win 9 games this season, I think is quite high. But, it's the same song that we sing every offseason. This roster passes the eye test. They've just got to go freaking do it.
And I think I'd be a lot more confident in them doing that if they had the same record but didn't collapse in November last year. Yeah. They found a way to beat South Carolina, Auburn, even if you lose to Texas, but maybe lost to Missouri and Arkansas or something like that. I think I'm a lot more confident if they're closing well. I keep going back to you guys. Maybe this is just battered Aggie syndrome. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's hilarious. Maybe this is just battered Aggie syndrome, but I keep thinking this is a team that's going to look a lot better on the field and maybe play some closer games and play tougher, but maybe that doesn't translate in the win-loss column because all those games they had at home last year that we were pointing out, hey, their toughest games are at home, we flipped them to the road last year. They go to Notre Dame. They go to an LSU team that they haven't won at since 1994. They go to Missouri. They go to Texas. They played Arkansas for the first time since 2013 in a series that's always just stupidly close. So it's a tough schedule. And even 8-4 again might be improved over last year.
That's where I'm sitting this year is 8-4 and go win your bowl game and get to 9 wins. I think that's a frustrating spot on the treadmill, but 9-4 this season would feel, I think, a world away from what 8-5 did last year. If you close in November strong. I mean, if you can find a way to beat one of LSU or Missouri on the road, if you can beat South Carolina at home, which we've seen them do time and time again, even if you then lose to Texas in the finale in Austin, which you probably will, I think you have a lot more momentum going into the bowl game in the offseason, the recruiting class, than what we even got close to in 24.
I think you're going to learn a lot about this team when they play Notre Dame. They do have to go on the road. I'm not anticipating them to win that game, but I think the way that they play, the way that they stack up is going to tell you a lot about where this team's mentality is, a lot about where the skill is on this team. And I mean, you never know. It's early. You could catch a young quarterback, if it's that kind of situation. It'll be the second game for Notre Dame, third game for A&M. I think if you ask me about A&M about 11 o'clock that Saturday night when we're talking about them in the recap live stream, I think I'll have a lot better idea of what this A&M team's going to be. I could see it gelling for this A&M team. I mean, we've seen Colin Klein offenses turn into, kind of powerhouse explosive offenses, and Elko can clearly run a defense. All you got to do is put it together, and that's been the difficult thing for A&M to do, is just put it together, right? Get the entire thing working at the same time. Offense looks good, defense looks good, everything looks good at the same time. If they can do that and maybe start to string some stuff together, this team can achieve. They've got the talent. Again, put me in a little bit of the doubt category because we haven't seen it happen, but I do want to give a little bit of a carve out for benefit of the doubt for Mike Elko. This is only his second season. Mike Elko can't help the fact that Jimbo Fisher and Kevin Sumlin were guys that came before him. He can't help the fact that that's what happened. He can only be Mike Elko, right? And that's, I think, where I'm going to carve out a little benefit of the doubt and just say, hey, let's give him some time. We saw what he did at Duke. We saw what he was able to do, in his time as a head coach there. Give him a chance. Let's see what this team looks like, middle to end of September.